What's going on, guys? This is Peter, the Warner Brothers Universal and Paramount Fan 2002, and I'm back with another review. Today's review will be the 1995 to 2003 Hanna-Barbera and Cartoon Network series, and this one is Dexter's Laboratory, commonly abbreviated as Dexter's Lab. Wow, how I remember watching this show when I first watched it on DVD. The show was created by a cartoon maker, Genndy Tartakovsky, who also created Samurai Jack, Primal, Symbionic Titan, Star Wars, Clone Wars, and Unicorn Warriors Eternal, which these shows are also great. On to Dexter's Lab. Dexter's Lab was originally aired on Cartoon Network, TNT, Turner Network Television, Adult Swim, as part of a checkered pass block, and Boomerang, originally streamed on Max, formerly known as HBO Max, Netflix, and currently streaming on Hulu and its beta on Disney+. The series follows Dexter, an enthusiastic boy genius with a hidden science laboratory in his room full of inventions, which he keeps secret from his clueless parents, who are only referred to as Mom and Dad. Dexter is at constant odds with his older and more extroverted sister Jade, who always gains access to the lab and inadvertently foils his experiments. Dexter has a bitter rivalry with his neighbor and classmate Mandrake, a nefarious boy genius who attempts to undermine Dexter at every opportunity. Prominently featured in the first and second seasons are other segments focusing on superhero-based characters: Monkey, Dexter's pet lab monkey/superhero, and the Justice Friends, a trio of superheroes who share an apartment. Dexter is a bespectacled boy genius who, behind a bookcase in his bedroom, conceals a secret laboratory, which can be accessed by spoken passwords or hidden switches on his bookshelf. Though highly intelligent, Dexter often fails to achieve his goals when he becomes overexcited and careless. Dexter conceals his lab from his clueless parents, addressed only as Mom and Dad, who never take notice of it. His hyperactive, good-hearted, older sister Jade delights in playing haphazardly in the lab, wreaking havoc with Dexter's inventions. Though seemingly dim-witted, Jade, who is also a talented ballet dancer, can outsmart her brother and even give him helpful advice. For his part, Dexter, though annoyed by his intrusive sibling, feels a reluctant affection for her and will come to her defense if she is imperiled. Dexter's nemesis is rival classmate Mandrake Astronominov. Like Dexter, Mandrake is a boy genius with his own laboratory, but his schemes are generally evil and designed to gain power or downplay or destroy Dexter's accomplishments. Dexter's inventions are objectively better than his, and Mandrake tries to compensate for this by stealing Dexter's plans. Mandrake's weakness is his unrequited love for Jade. Throughout the earlier seasons, a segment centers on characters other than Dexter and his family. Two segments are shown primarily during Season 1, Dial M for Monkey and the Justice Friends. The writing for this show is mostly pretty solid and each episode does have a nice fast pace. It manages to be pretty funny and there are some parts where it can get pretty action-packed, and it takes full advantage of the premise by having each episode involve at least one of Dexter's inventions or experiments. Not to mention the Dial M for Monkey and Justice Friends shorts are well written too. However, there was a dip in quality once Seasons 3 and 4 came out, as these were much slower paced and didn't seem as funny as before. And the writing does affect the quality of the episodes, as while there are plenty of great ones like Last But Not Least, Dexter's Rival, Men Darker, The Big Cheese, Dollhouse Drama, Muffin King, L.A. Bretto, Old Man Dexter, Fillet of Soul, Game Over, Babysitter Blues, Snowdown, Photo Finish, Decode of Honor. There were also a few bad ones like Dexter vs. Santa Claus and A Third Dad cartoon. The humor for the most part does hit its mark, and while not every joke get a laugh, especially in the last two seasons, most of them do still get a good laugh, like some of the slapstick and gags, the humorous situations the characters get themselves into, some of the witty banter and dialogue, and some of the funny faces. Even though the show is more comedy-based, there are a few times where the show can have some action, and this does lead to some action-packed moments like Monkey and the Justice Friends fighting off their respective villains, Dexter playing dodgeball, the big kaiju battle in Last But Not Least, whenever a certain experiment goes haywire, and his various encounters with Mandrake. The animation may be on the cheaper side, even when compared to other animated shows at the time, but it does help give the show its identity. The characters all have nice designs and decent movements, the backgrounds are serviceable, and there are some decent effects. Also, the animation and designs did get a bit of a boost in the later seasons. The characters are all pretty likable and funny, and they do have some solid chemistry, but they sadly do get flanderized a bit in the last 2 seasons. Dexter is a pretty likable character, as even though he is incredibly smart and is capable of creating many inventions and experiments, he is still a kid and there are still some things he doesn't know what to do or how to handle. And he does also get interested in most things kids his age would find interesting. On top of that, while he can come off as very passive and uncaring, he does have a good heart. Jade is also a pretty likable character, as even though she can come off as pretty annoying and pretty stupid, it mostly never gets to the point where she becomes unlikable, and her disastrous interactions with the lab are mostly unintentional. On top of that, she is generally nice and does love her brother. Mom and Dad are both pretty likable characters, as even though they're pretty much the basic portrayal of your typical husband and wife, there are moments where they can be pretty funny, and they do also have their moments of being snarky. Not to mention they do legitimately care for their kids. Mandrake is a pretty funny villain, as even though he has very sinister intentions with his inventions and experiments, his massive ego usually tends to be his downfall. The other characters are also likable despite being phased out in later seasons, like the brave and super-powered monkey, the lovely honeydew, the stern commander general, the heroic Major Glory, the massive but dim-witted Krunk, and the laid-back Valhallan. The voice acting is pretty solid, and the voice actors all give pretty great performances, like Christine Cavanaugh and Candy Milo as Dexter, Allison Moore and Kat Cressida as Jade, Kath Soucie as Mom and Honeydew, Jeff Bennett as Dad, Eddie Deason as Mandrake, Frank Welker as Monkey and Krunk, Rob Paulson as Major Glory, Tom Kenny as Valhallan, and more. The music is pretty good, and it really does accompany the show's comedic tone. Overall, despite some decline in quality, this is still a pretty funny and well put together series that does mostly deliver on the laughs, and is pretty much a must-watch for any fan of Cartoon Network or Genndy Tartakovsky. But I will mostly stick with the first 2 seasons, and the third and fourth, while not really bad per se, aren't nearly as good. Speaking about its show's movie, this show has its own TV movie from Hanna-Barbera and Cartoon Network, Dexter's Laboratory, Ego Trip, in 1999. It was a shame that the movie didn't made for theaters. And what is my verdict on this Hanna-Barbera and Cartoon Network series? I'm giving this show a 7.5 out of 10. Pretty good show from the classic Hanna-Barbera and Cartoon Network series.